so this is Maher Chebbo. I'm going to moderate actually the panel. Is Dmitry on the call? Yes, he's there.
He was. He was.
I can't see him. He's just on mute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a left toggle on the top, so you know, not everybody fits here.
And that's actually a live picture of him. He does actually look like that.
So, Dmitry, can you unmute, please? Say a few words. Here we are. Good. Can you speak?
I think he can't hear us.
He was working before a few minutes ago.
Yeah, he's probably in the bathroom. I mean,
oh, he's right there. I just saw him.
Hello. So
hi, Dmitry.
Here we are. So actually, we could start. So I'd like to invite Maher Chebbo. He was our chair of our event, so he'll manage the interviews for today and ask you questions. So actually, we start with a short introduction. We'll put in front of your interview, and then your speech is going to be, and after we'll ask a few questions. So Maher Chebbo, so giving you a word.
Hey, how are you? So it's my pleasure to see that big number. So we should always do the recording of these sessions on Friday evening CET time, but I think might be that also we have a lot of people in the maybe in the US, and the time zone was then good for that. So we will figure out. But this is also a something exception. Is the first time. It's my third or fourth recording, right? We are doing. It's the first time we have a woman actually here in the panel. So that's good that we are improving the gender here, but hope we will have a much better gender in the future. So as Dmitry said, we will have to go through first quick round of introductions. Then I will give the floor to every one of you to speak about your activities, what you are doing, what you are looking for. If you are an investor, what kind of companies you are interested in. If you are a startup or somebody looking to offer something, what kind of investments you are looking for. And then I would say recommendations always help. So this is going to be pre-recorded. And what people will listen for is kind of recipe. You know, what are the recommendations that the people who are really experienced in the business and have something interesting to say, this is why you're invited as speakers, what kind of recommendations you would give to them moving forward. I will be asking a question after every 10 minutes presentation, setting up the scene and providing you key messages. And then at the end, we will have also the opportunity to ask everyone to give their thoughts on what they heard from the others.
Just a heads up, I have an 8 o'clock call, so I can't stay for more than an hour total, so.
You will be second. The first one, I will start by the only lady we have on the call today, to be elegant. But let's go through the introduction, out of introductions from everyone. Should we start from top down or left, right?
I think everyone's got a different toggle. So
yeah,
yeah, you start with the ladies. Ladies first.
Okay, so my name is Sydney Wong, and I am from Montreal. So I was just started an angel fund in January 2020. And before that, I was working on a platform that works with early stage, seed stage startups and venture capitalists. My experience is mostly in North America, in Canada, and in Silicon Valley. And yeah, it's my first time to this summit. So I'm very excited to see what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. Next. Take it as you wish. Up, down, left, right, but let's go first.
I suggest a rule. Basically, every time there's somebody who is being introduced, then nominate somebody else. So it's going to be a lot easier to find who's next.
Okay, I nominate you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Love it. So Kevin Monserrat here, French, but living in London for just under 8 years. Economist and entrepreneur. Was leading the ecosystem development for Microsoft Ventures Europe. and then left Microsoft in 2018, created a tokenized venture capital arm, and we are basically evergreen, multi-stage, and multi-sectors, and we are essentially focused on Europe for now, Western Europe, but we have obviously angels, families, and high net worth in the US as well.
Nominate someone?
And I will nominate Fred.
Oh, hi, I'm Fred Cohen. I live in Pebble Beach, California. I work with folks at Pitch Global doing global pitch sessions. I run Angel to Exit, where we help grow companies from around the world. I'm the president of the Pebble Beach chapter of Keiritsu Forum, which is the most active private equity investment group in the world with 3,000 plus members and 53 chapters on 4 continents. And I've been doing startups since the 1970s, before many of you were born, and plan to do it after many of you are no longer with us, because I'm not figuring I'm going to go away anytime soon. So, you know, that's what I do. I'll go for Giampaolo. All right, I can't pronounce your name properly. Giampaolo?
Giampaolo. Yes.
Giampaolo.
Hello, everyone. Giampaolo Parigi. I'm a venture capitalist and former investment banker, serial entrepreneur with a keen interest in technology. I was formerly on the board of directors of a European mid-sized banking group, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Italy, and the US, in charge of special situation and investment banking. I was for over 10 years in VC in Silicon Valley as principal of a VC firm. And I run over the last 15, 16 years, actually a little bit more, our single family office. And we do invest in infrastructure, energy, technology. So I would thank you all for this and leave the floor to Damian. Damian?
That's me.
Yes.
Hello, hi guys. My name is Damian. I'm based in the UK, originally Polish. I used to work with a few ultra high net worth individuals sourcing classic cars, primarily classic Ferraris. Before, in my previous life, I used to be a troubleshooter for electronics and electro engineering companies back in Poland. I set up a little computer shop then to start off my own business in 2003, I think, 2002, 2003. Sold it in 2006, came to the UK. Started full-time job in education management, and then I got to senior management level. Then I got hired by a couple of wealthy investors, buying sourcing classic cars for them. From that, because obviously great connections all over the world, I figure out that the best thing to do is to help businesses, because I'm natural born troubleshooter. So I leaned toward helping young businessmen, business entrepreneurs, and obviously startup became very hot 10 years ago. So yeah, from that, I think my troubleshooting and my energy and my positive approach, I don't like any nonsense. So, and I always say as it is. So I suppose people like, instead of rubbing backs, I just say as it is. So yeah, I've been working on a couple of startups. I've sent an email actually to Kevin. Kevin, good to see you today. Yeah, I've been working on a few startups myself, and I have some startups coming through my Colossus Ventures channel as well, which is a brand new thing. So I have a few startups on my own, some startups coming to see us, and I'm working on my little venture capital fund as well to close the circle for me, so we can source the funds and fund our own startups and fund startups coming to us. I'm based in Solihull, which is in Birmingham area, not London, and it's very unusual to find venture capital or good investors here in the area. So I'm trying to fit into the gap in my area. So yeah, this is me, and this is my wife's fitness and yoga studio, if you're thinking what's going on here, because we My wife's business pivoted completely to online because obviously the studio it was forced to close for the time being. But yeah, we're still full time. So in the meantime, I'm a cameraman and sound engineer as well. So multi-skilled, you know, whatever you need, I can fix it.
Excellent. You are doing the best use of your time.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know what, to be honest, I've done so much. People were saying, oh, you know, I have time for this, for that. I have no time. I'm just getting new skills, reading a lot, watching a lot of interviews a lot every day. And yeah, it's been busy like never before, to be honest. I don't know if I can ask you, I don't know if you all feel the same thing, because I feel like everything stopped and it's like the whole world is on pause, so I can get up to speed where everyone is. So anything missing in my knowledge, I can catch up with everyone because the world stopped suddenly. So yeah, for me, it's a great time. It's a great time.
None of my companies have stopped.
Yeah.
The meeting that we had as things started to happen, we have our monthly CEOs meeting. The meeting we had was, how are we going to adapt? And they've all helped each other and they've all adapted and they're all moving along, and some of them are doing better and some of them are doing worse, but that's no different from every other month, every other year.
Exactly. Yeah, the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, now we need the next one.
I can't see the list of people. How do I see the list of?
Scroll it down.
Dmitry?
Scroll it down. Scroll it down. There's an arrow. At the bottom, you find an arrow. Scroll it down.
Okay. Dmitry. I don't think we had Dmitry.
Yeah, I'm here. So there is a button to see all the members of our conversation. You could switch the type of the view, the full size of the speaker.
Yeah,
and
Dmitry, you're
all the
introducing yourself now.
Yeah, I think he's choosing you to speak.
Okay. So my name is Dmitry Solovyev, and I'm founder of DAO.digital. So I have a strong background of organizing digital events, of implementing digital services for companies around the world. So for the last 3 years, was focusing on the blockchain projects and was implementing different areas like marketplaces and media portals and etc. And this year decided to build own community to connect best experts in the area of the blockchain, of the investment area, of the digital space. And the first step is we decided to arrange the event to connect all the people. So I invited Maher Chebbo to join us as the chair of the event, and he also helps us build the platform. So actually, this is the first step of connecting all of us and building this platform for you to make the best of it, take the benefit of all of this. So thank you very much for joining this. So I'm giving the word to James Sowers.
Thanks, Dmitry. I'm James Sowers. I'm Forbes Top 50 Angel Investor and Director of Greater Good Society. I'm looking to unite, inspire, accelerate founders and individuals that want to change the way we live and learn. And I think this is especially relevant in today's society.
Thank you.
And I'll pass the bar on to Lee. I can see him in my screen underneath me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's quite nice that I could hear a lot of you before I went in. Most of you seem from an investment background and from startups and venture capital. I think I'm from a different area right now. I've been in the technology space for quite some time, especially in the blockchain, at least since the beginning of Ethereum in 2015. I've delved into it. Right now, I'm a tech lead for one of the blockchain startups here in Toronto. We are working on oracles, and I lead that area where we're trying to bring off-chain data to on-chain. So basically, whatever the current internet infrastructure has to the blockchain world. Surprisingly, not surprisingly, it's a very hard problem, because anytime you want to decentralize an ecosystem, it's not an easy task. So we have been working on it for quite some time, and the bear market of 2018 and all kind of 19 didn't really help much as well. And on the personal front, I have myself written a application standard for the Ethereum Foundation, which is the ERC 1973, which is like a layer 2 scalability solution for distribution of token rewards. But that's kind of where my focus is. Yeah.
Thank you. Next one.
Let's see, who is Damian? That's who I can see.
I've just finished.
Oh, you finished? Oh, right.
I can go on
Kyle.
all day long.
Oh,
you
no.
I know you can.
All right,
think-
maybe I
think
should go because I haven't gone yet. So
Kyle has.
Give me a second. I'll get a drink and cigar, and I'll be back. And I can go on all day long.
Thanks, Lee. So I'm Kyle. I started my first company at the age of 14. I've been on the entrepreneurship path for quite some time, and got into blockchain in about 2015 after having started one of the very first accelerator programs around wearable technology and the Internet of Things, or the connected world. Also have been a VC for some time, doing investments globally. So majority here in the US, but also in Europe, and a lot cross-border to Asia, working with family offices, advising funds on global expansion, local investments, and then various technology trends as well. And then also on the blockchain level, I do a ton of research and analysis. So I've been researching thousands of companies since late 2018 as to who and what is involved in the evolving landscape of blockchain. So at this point, I've reviewed about 4,000 plus companies and funds globally, who's building what they're not building, or who's active, who's not active, all the infrastructure, decentralized applications, and now decentralized finance or open finance going forward. So been an entrepreneur for well over 20 years, started one of the first accelerators, worked with over 175 companies as an advisor or an investor, raised a lot of capital, advised funds, family offices, and have been investing in the space globally.
Excellent.
What is your last name, Kyle? You're the only one who doesn't have one.
Yeah, apologies for that. I think that's because of another Zoom setting that I had that just transferred over. So it's Ellicott. I'll throw it in the chat. So
Oh, see, I thought it was E, just like Jonathan E.
you know, for today's purposes,
From rollerball, you know.
it's
Yeah.
E.
Something which I would request from you is also to provide the full name in the chat, the link to whatever information you would find useful. For example, you will mention in your speech, like website or things also linked to your LinkedIn profile. And all of that, when people will listen to the recording, you know, hundreds or thousands of people, then they have the voiceover, but they have in the same time also the useful information where they get more details. Next one.
my name is Evander Smart. I'm founder of a Bitcoin University, and I've been in the Bitcoin space since the economic collapse of Cyprus back in the spring of 2013. And previously, before that, I was a banker on Wall Street for JP Morgan. And I've always been interested in economics. I've been in the financial services industry for about 15 years. And I'm just always been fascinated with where this economic system is going since we've gotten into the quantitative easing. And now we have, I don't know where we are with the infinite quantitative easing that we have right now. What we're doing in the US, I'm not sure. But it looks like the Federal Reserve's been taken over by the Treasury Department. So the US economic system is going in an interesting direction. And Bitcoin's going in a very interesting direction with the halving coming up pretty much on Monday. And Bitcoin just passing $10,000 in value. So it's a very exciting time to look into digital currencies if you're not currently involved. And people ask me what I do. I teach people about the future of money. That's really what I think why I'm here on this planet, really to teach people about the economic systems going forward, blockchains, digital currencies like Bitcoin, and where everybody kind of fits in. Because I think the US economic system is going to change over. We're going to leave the fiat currency system in the next few years. And I think we're going to all go into digital currencies in one form or another. It's just a matter of which one you're going to be using, a national centralized digital currency or a global decentralized digital currency like Bitcoin. So I'm here to educate and hopefully grow my brand and my business.
Okay, so is the Bitcoin university is like a full university dedicated to the Bitcoin, or?
Yeah, no, if you can, I've done the SEO myself, so it comes up first in a Google search. So if you just type in Bitcoin University, my website will come up first. Yeah, I can actually make you a Bachelor of Bitcoin. So I actually have a full degree in everything. So I make videos, I write books, have over 70 videos inside of a Bitcoin University. And if anybody wants to learn all that I know, which is a considerable amount, I try and avoid things like, coding and day trading and those type of angles. But as far as how the average layman can get started, because most people, 99% of the people really have no idea what a Bitcoin is or how it works. They understand the name. It has enough of a brand. So people say Bitcoin, say, I have some understanding it's a computer program. But other than that, most people don't understand why it's relevant and why it's so powerful. But now we have Elon Musk who owns it, and we have
BBC, right?
Microsoft and so on. So
if we graduate, we get a BBC, right?
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. Yeah. So
Hey, Cohen, BBC,
So
next one.
I think it was the last one. Is there anybody else here that we have?
There's Arno.
Alex Katsaros.
There's Alex and Arnold left.
Yeah, Arno.
Yeah, he has to unmute.
Alex Katsaros, no? Okay, for the video. Arnold.
Yes, hello, Arnold here. Can you see me?
No.
Nor now we can't hear you either.
You just muted yourself, Arnold.
It's a ghost.
Oh, I thought it was something with the video.
There you go. Start videos right next
Okay.
to
There you
stop
go.
talking.
Saw you for a second.
No.
Okay.
So
we have. Go ahead.
So about natural blockchain language.
No, just a quick round of introductions for the moment. Just
Okay, Arnold from
natural and what
Dutch
organization you are with.
Blockchain Language Foundation. It's a spin-off of the University in the north of Holland, and yeah, based. Yeah.
So look, we have a lot of people. We'll have to fit it within the time frame. I was thinking about like 10 minutes, but I think if you can make it like much shorter than that we leave also the interaction for questions, probably 5 minutes where you pass your key messages, you leave some time for questions, and then we can jump to the second speaker. Again, if you can provide in parallel the information about yourself, your LinkedIn profile, whatever link which would be useful, please do it in this window chat. If maybe you have a question that comes to your mind when somebody is presenting, also throw it there, and we try to pick it at the end. And then Dmitry, probably at the end, we should take some time as well to speak a bit about the infrastructure that is becoming like this investor and startup club with the help of all the speakers coming here. Let me start in the same order as we started the introductions by Sydney.
Sorry, unmute. Yes, so we started our angel fund out in January. Wanted to invest more in early stage startups. So my background is mostly in tech and marketing. And so a few years ago, I had a friend who said if I was very interested in learning about tech and startups, then I needed to move to the Valley. So I bought a one-way ticket from Canada, and then I moved in with him for several months, and then I couldn't get an apartment or anything else because you needed something called an American credit report, which is bogus, and they were so mean about it. So then I got to learn a lot about startups and a lot about investors when I was there, and I wanted to build a platform that would best suit these gaps in the market at the early stage. And so I just sent a small brochure out, which is like a digital one-pager that you can see. And then we started our new angel fund along with an office, like a family office from Korea in Victoria, BC, actually. And I'm the only one who is not living there. There's about 11 of us, and wanted to just go more into each of our own expertise. And so I'm here to learn from people who have experience either in angel investing or in VC, and just have the opportunity to meet and pick your brain and ask questions. And then I feel like I would be more prepared for the next step. Also, in case you were wondering, starting a new fund in 2020 was a terrible idea. I wish this could have come at any other time. All the advice I've gotten so far were mostly just warnings than anything else. So yeah, so that is my story. And I will also add more information in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. So what are you looking for here from this forum, this network, from your experience, from you moving from Canada to the Valley? Are you looking for broader digital technologies? Are you looking for specifically cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or blockchain technologies?
So because it is my first year investing my own money, I would feel much more comfortable investing in things that I know about. So they would be more into SaaS or consumer tech or things like that. So a little less on blockchain, less on healthcare tech and biotech.
Okay. How much did you invest actually?
Our fund overall is $10 million, and we each write checks of about $25,000 as a pre-seed or seed round. And for our first year, our family office has actually asked all of us in the combined effort to be follow-on investors and kind of learn from lead investors over time. So as we are having a more diverse portfolio, we ourselves would gain more expertise and experience as well. There are other blockchain, for example, investments that are already there, but they are led by other angel investors as opposed to myself.
Okay, so anything in the software as a service,
yeah,
would you would look at that, whether it's in industrial, in services sectors, in energy, in healthcare, you look at any sector, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and what is the stage of the companies you look at? Is it like early stage, fast growing companies making about a certain level of revenues?
Yeah, so definitely early stage, so between pre-seed and seed. In Canada, it's a little bit more conservative, or just the range is a little bit different than in the US, for example, from what I have noticed. But anywhere between pre-seed and seed is great. If they have just starting to have reoccurring revenue in kind of preliminary patterns, that is also favorable.
Mm-hmm. And how many companies do you have in your portfolio today, and what's the objective at the end?
So we are trying to close the first 2 startups, which has been very difficult as it is the past few months. In our platform that was started a couple of years back, it's over 100 different seed stage startups.
So this is the funnel. You look at 100 different seed stage startups, and then out of them, like you've got like a 2% with whom you are closing now.
Yeah, because it started at different times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And the average investment is?
For us, it's 25K.
That you put 20. How much you put in the companies where you invest? 25K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that means they have to be at an early stage. They have to start somewhere. I mean, Facebook was $1,000 at the beginning, plus $18,000, probably $19,000 was that. He became now one of the largest market cap companies in the world. So why not? Good. Thank you. If you have any questions to Sydney, I think that's very interesting experience, very clear. Thank you for the short and sharp pitch here. Please ask in the chat, and we will come back to that later on. Fred, you will not be second, you will be third, because Kylie has to leave soon. So I'll give the floor to Kylie then.
Yeah, so thank you. Apologies everyone that I have to depart a little early. So similar to Sydney, I'm definitely here to learn, also share my knowledge as well. I've been very fortunate to and be in several situations like this with great minds and being able to learn more and more, because we always think we know a lot, but we find out, as others have mentioned, that there's still plenty to learn. So I'm here to learn, what are the opportunities, what experiences others have had, and then what opportunities are out there as well. And then, from the blockchain side, kind of understanding what trending is going on, where things are working, where things are not, understanding what people are seeing, and again, some of the lessons learned maybe from making investments or not having made the investments as well, as I continue my my efforts in the space.
So out of the 170 companies where you were an investor or an advisor, what's the learning?
A lot. I guess to kind of sum it up is, always take a bet on the team.
Okay.
At the same time, the market plays differently than the business, as we're seeing right now. So while there may be a good sustainable business, the market may not play into that. And then at the other same time is to build at a reasonable pace. Many companies think that they have to go global day one. That's not always true. Or have to build super aggressively, but end up spending all the cash and missing small opportunities. So building at a similar pace and costs.
So start by a burn rate which is low, grow slowly. You could have millions, but if you don't spend them wisely, actually, you can find out yourself in a couple of years without any cash, and then focus on a clear product and geographies at the beginning. And the key is to have the right people actually running the, so if you have a fantastic plane or a car, but you don't have the right driver, you will go nowhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the team, it's what we're living in right now, being able to understand and navigate the market as the market is changing very quickly in front of you, right? Listening to your customers and making fast adjustments to either the current product or new products. I've seen some outstanding founders who have, in dark times, very quickly listened to what their customers were saying, spun up a new product, and changed their business entirely. And so it's just having that knowledge of and forward thinking from the team's perspective, and then hiring great and firing fast. So
good. So blockchain is the main focus for you.
Blockchain, marketplaces, esports, but for our conversation, definitely blockchain, fintech, open finance. So looking at blockchain at the infrastructure level, not necessarily cryptocurrencies around like alt tokens, but actual blockchain infrastructure technology, whether that's applied to areas of enterprise or consumer, or it's at the actual enterprise level. Looking at distributed compute, storage, looking at layer 2 solutions, whatever it may be in the infrastructure or building for the enterprise. So areas like retail, agriculture, and then consumers looking at digital collectibles, digital assets, decentralized finance, and gaming, among others as well.
Okay. When you say agriculture, you are talking about which use cases, which scenarios?
Honestly, when it comes to agriculture, and that was just one that came out, I think a better example was probably transportation or the Internet of Things, which is my background, to Sydney's similar point as well. There's the Internet of Things is very expansive. Agriculture is one of those pieces. The entire agriculture industry has applications where blockchain may play a role, whether it's supply chain, it's communications, manufacturing, it's food tracing. In some cases, there might even be digital assets or collectibles that can play a role in that in some way.
What about the direct selling from the agriculture's producers directly to the end customer? So,
Yes.
electronic marketplaces or portals, is that a good business?
So is that a good use case? Absolutely. There's definitely room for a marketplace like that. Is that a good business? I don't know enough about the business of that trade to be able to answer that. Is it a good business ideally? Absolutely. Being able to trade, whether it's locally at a city level, domestically at a state or country level, and then globally around the world, being able to trade at that with a system like that and full record, absolutely. I haven't seen many businesses that are doing that at scale, so TBD.
Okay. And assets you are talking about, like plants, power plants, infrastructure, these are the digital asset solution, or?
No, it's a good question. So actually, digital assets, I'm looking at everything across the board. I mean, really the idea of taking something physical and turning it digital. So it could be,
like
something.
Digital twins.
I'm sorry?
Like digital twins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So taking something physical, bringing it digital. So digital twins is an ideal example. Yeah. Yep.
Good. So we can talk. Yeah, I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, short of time, but I spent myself 21 years at SAP and 3 years with GE Digital, and the digital assets is part of the daily business here. Good.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you, Fred.
Yo, so I'll start with the basics. If you're presenting a potential company to me for investment or for assistance in growth, and you spend more than 10 seconds on blockchain, you're almost certainly making a big mistake. So the fundamental is that, yeah, blockchain is a technology, just like radio is a technology. But when you're trying to explain to me how you're going to help me, build better shoelaces or do better banking or whatever you're going to explain to me, telling me all about the way you're using the RF spectrum is not going to help in your presentation. I want to know about your business and how your business is going to succeed. So the number one mistake I see from presenters in terms of presenting to me is blockchain, 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 right? And it turns out, I bet I know more about blockchain than any of the presenters that have ever presented to me. But I don't spend my time asking them about blockchain, because when they want to get into those ridiculous technical discussions, they seem like fools instead of the experts that they should be in their field. So the thing about investing in companies is we're trying to make money while doing good. So the question is, how are you going to do good? What benefit are you going to bring to the world, and how are we going to make money by doing that? And that's always going to be the focus of our investment approach, no matter what we do. There's just a couple other things I wanted to mention, listening to the other presenters and waiting for other presenters who are going to do the same thing to me. I think investment is a team sport. I don't know about enough things to be able to make good investments across an entire spectrum of the investment possibilities. And one of the tremendous advantages of investment groups as opposed to individuals is that the groups have access to more expertise. And so you can gain that expertise. One of the things we do to help companies is we provide advisory boards, not individual advisors, but boards where the people change with time based on the needs you have, which change with time. So you can't possibly have all the expertise you need, especially in a startup, because it would cost you a fortune. So what you need is to be able to bring in the experts you need for the things you need and get help in the areas you're not an expert at. And then finally, I just want to emphasize, I'm a statistical investor, right? I have a background in electrical engineering and science, and so I think diversification is fundamental to success. So when something like the COVID situation happens, some of my companies will not do as well and some will do better. But that's the diversified portfolio investment approach that allows you to succeed regardless of the changes in market conditions and so forth. So with that, I'll be happy to discuss things.
Thank you. I would say in the previous session where we recorded some speeches as well, the message came as well about be careful, blockchain, people can explain to you things that do not make sense. They are not clear. They don't show where the business is and what the use case is clearly. And you made the same point. There is a need, and this forum and the summit should help to give more awareness about it, to push people as well to be much clearer in the way they present their case, and give them also the recommendations how to shape their business plans if they need to attract the investors.
If I may,
yes.
Maher, if I may elaborate a little bit more over what Fred just said, and I cannot agree more. I think blockchain is where the value is, but blockchain per se just a means to an end to us investors. So it's basically really the distributed ledger potential that must be applied to something that has some sense for the market, be it a B2B, B2C, or other types of cross-fertilization combination. And I think that really a venue like this could really contribute to redefine the priorities and clear a little bit of an alphabet soup, because people come to us with new technology startups, but what we keep seeing is very antiquated and stale business way of thinking. And there's a clash. I don't know, Fred and you other, all of you, if you notice this, but what we keep seeing is really very, very old-fashioned way of thinking and coming from the old business school is no longer applicable to the 21st century. And I'm really, striving and fighting to try to change this a little bit. I'm very curious and eager to hear your comments about it, all of you guys.
I'm going to disagree with your presumption that the old ways of business are no good. Right, we're not walking up and shaking hands right now, okay? And by the way, we've been live online remote for the past, for a long, long time, but Angel to Exit started live online remote and never left. And most people, I think, that are going to this situation will realize, at least in our industry, that going out and shaking hands is not as valuable as doing your research. So I believe in in-depth due diligence, right? So we study the companies. When we do advisory boards, we work with companies for typically 4 to 6 months before we'll take them to an investor. We have to know it inside and out. We have metrics. So, we build software to do measurements of companies, and they fill in the metrics. They go check off a bunch of boxes, and then we say, okay, now provide us the details. And when they start to try to provide the details, they feel, oh, wait, maybe I overestimated myself, right? So I think in order to be successful and grow a business, not just to start one, but to grow one that's going to be successful over time, you need to develop all the infrastructure of business that has existed for a long time. You need a good financial system and a methodology for dealing with it. You need good operations and support and execution and fulfillment, right? You need good marketing, you need good sales. You need good executive decision-making. And that applies, whether you're selling some online, SaaS thing, or whether you're selling shoes, right? It's, the fundamentals of business remain that if you don't know how to execute and have the capacity to mature your company, then it won't be able to grow to be very large and be very successful. And then the buyers, when they go to make decisions about buying the company, won't be willing to buy it because they can't fold it into the larger situation, right? They're going to buy either for financial reasons or for strategic value. So if you have lots of customers and they want to buy those customers, then you better have the infrastructure to support their capacity to use those customers to their advantage. And if they're buying you for money, you'd better be able to have profit and sustainability. And when you're accelerating into a market and you're up here on the curve, at some point it's going to peak out. And the question is where, right? So people, assume 20x exit valuations, but if you're near market saturation, that's just not going to be true. So, doing your homework, doing your analysis, looking in depth at things is, that's how I look at businesses, and I'm going to keep looking at them that way. And if you don't have the goods, if you don't have the knowledge and the experience to do it, then you might be able to start a company, but you're not going to be able to, grow it up that curve. So that's my view of it.
Yeah, just to address that point, let me, of course, fundamentals always apply, because without fundamentals, we don't go anywhere. But I think really the approach, what we see as VC is really that companies sometimes cannot relate with their offerings to where the financial market and particularly the capital markets are. And I see this gap not being filled. And this is because these, not only rookies, but there's also people, there are more seniors, but they're coming into a new field, but with an old set of mindset. I mean, excuse me, the repetition, I'm saying it's not just that the fact that, of course, you have to have all the departments checked and all the, the good things in place. But the reality is that the world is greatly different. And I'm not talking about COVID-19. Take COVID-19 out of the picture. I mean, this was already an issue before the outbreak of the contagion. And I just really, we keep seeing a discrepancy in how people, especially from startup and primarily from technology startups, come unprepared, vastly unprepared to deal with the capital markets. And I've been questioning myself, why is it happening? And
so there's two aspects to this, right? One of them is the company's preparation to deal with the markets, but another one is the market's capacity to understand the companies. I think that the capital markets, certainly the public markets, are irrational, and they're crazy. And when I look at the amount of diligence I do to invest in a small company, it's orders of magnitude more than what somebody does to change their stock market investment. I mean, people are just shoving funds around to try and play this high-tech Monte Carlo type game in the stock market. In private equity and private investment, we're making much more detailed examination of our decisions and being much more thoughtful. And if we're successful, we're helping those companies to succeed by introducing them to opportunities they wouldn't otherwise have, by helping them to add the people they need, find better relationships, find a better path to market. So I think that the investment community writ large is, made up of people who, I'll agree with you, they don't really know what's going on. And there are a lot of followers. One of the big frustrations that I have is I spend, months on diligence working with companies, helping to improve them. And then somebody else comes along with some fund that has $1 billion and says, oh, well, I'll throw $10 million at 40 companies in that space. But it has to be that somebody else did put in the time and effort and did the diligence, right? So they wait until I do my job and then they're going to leverage it. And I'll tell you some advice that I give a lot of the companies that I do this with. About 50% of the companies, when we get through our internal diligence process, we decide the best path forward for them is not to go for private equity investment. For example, we have non-dilutive ways to grow, right? With action. And we have non-dilutive ways to grow with government grants. And we support those programs and help them succeed in those areas. So, like I said, 50% of the companies we work through find ways to grow that don't give up equity or give up very little equity in exchange for the capacity to accelerate.
Maher, I think that what Fred is raising as a point on the due diligence and on the inadequacy of most of the private equity market to deal with new companies is what is triggering, for example, single family offices like mine and many, many others in the US and in Europe to go towards direct investments more and more on their own. Primarily because, of course, most single family offices come from family or business people who are definitely hands-on by nature, but also because of the cumbersome structuring of investment managers that don't live up, to the expectations, ultimately lead, I would say affluent investors to do it on their own. And not only to curbing fees, as I've heard, of course, reducing fees it's always a good thing because obviously you increase the margin and the profitability of the transaction. But I think primarily is because we are going towards an era, and I'm really happy to hear all of you guys, on this. We're going towards an era where there's going to be less distancing between the target and the investors. I'm seeing this greatly reduced. I see all the efforts in every continent going towards this. Single family office is definitely at the forefront of this innovation. I myself started over 15 years ago, and I've been for 15 years a private equity player before that. So not that I didn't play by their book, but as I discovered that their book was no longer really the book that I wanted to read, and because it was bringing me farther and farther away from the underlying, I decided to veer towards the underlying. And then I've seen a lot of other single family offices in the world have done exactly the same. So our asset allocation ends up being, more towards direct investment, which is good for the incubators and the angel funds of the world, and and the startups, because there will be more and more of this coming. I think we are not bound. We're not bound by the Sorry, Fred. And I'm closing. We're not bound by the investment period and the divestment period. This is a great advantage.
Mm.
And I know I'm taking too long. We live in a multi-sided marketplace, right? We work with companies to help them grow, but we also work with investors to get them aligned with the companies that are best for them. And as you're well aware, running family offices tend to focus on investing in things that are somehow related to what the family does and knows about, right? So if you're somebody that got their wealth by dairy, by having cows and producing milk, then it's unlikely that your family office is going to focus on blockchain technology, right? If you're somebody in high tech, then the family offices tend to focus on high tech. So one of the problems is because the family office doesn't have that expertise, unless you're a billionaire, you don't have the expertise in all these areas. You need to work with people with expertise to get that diversified portfolio. So building trust relationships with people with expertise and working as groups rather than as individuals, for me at least, and certainly for Keiretsu Forum, has been the path to success.
Make a final comment, and then we have to move on to the next speakers because we need to control the time, and we still have a lot of people to speak. I had a quick look at your sheet here. Really interesting. In principle, we look for business angels at the beginning of the process to get money, but the challenging part is you are somewhere in the middle. You have to prepare to mature and to scale, and then afterwards to look for an exit. And here, a lot of companies don't know how to do it. They are stuck. They hear a lot of things. It's not the right timing. Sometimes it's not good to sell. I have a friend who works in a ventilator US startup company. Last year, they had two options. One option is to sell. Second option, to go to the stock market. It's a company making 50 million revenues, but they have a fantastic CEO and entrepreneur who had a great vision. And actually the management team, all the guys who have stocks from the company, they were surprised by his decision. So he's got 250 million for that company. He didn't sell. He said, let's go to the markets. The value of the company today is 600 million.
I do believe that luck also happens. Right. I mean, if you happen to be in the ventilator business last fall and decided that you were going to hold out, you're very fortunate that a lot of people are dying. But
my friend, global sales leader, he made the whole revenues for the whole year in Q1. They are underwater. The White House called them and they said, we need all the ventilators produced in the US just for us, nothing for the rest of the world. And so and how the guy got the vision. 250 million was a good price, actually. The guy can just retire and go fishing in Texas. And he said, no, I go to the stock market. I want more.
So I think it's important to understand that we all make mistakes and we all have luck, and good luck and bad luck, right? So I write an article every month on Angel to Exit about something stupid I've done. And I've been doing this for 5 years just on that site, and for 25 years on another site. And I find that I'm not running out of articles, So there's plenty of mistakes you can make, but there's also plenty of good things you can do.
That's the reason you're still in business, Fred.
Because I made so many mistakes. That's why I'm really good at giving advice, because I like to tell people, you know, you'll make the same mistakes I made, but hopefully when you read my articles, you'll say, oh, wait a minute. And before you go too far down that mistake, you'll stop yourself. And I was hoping the social meme running into the future would be, oh, wait a minute, Fred did that. Uh-oh, we better watch out. So
that's good. Thank you. So for the ones who are looking for Fred Cohen on LinkedIn, there are probably 200 people called Fred Cohen. So you have to find out the right one.
Just go to a2e.co.
Yeah. This is where I went actually. So
all right, I gotta go.
Next, thank you. Thanks a lot. Next speaker. Who was after Fred?
Nobody remembers.
I guess it was me, but.
Okay, then, yeah, I mean, you just spoke, so let's go ahead.
Do you have any particular question you want to ask?
No, I mean, just tell us a bit more than the introduction about what you are looking for, what are your recommendations. Tell us a bit about if tomorrow somebody wants to come to you and work with you and so on. What are the points of interest and how they should do it, and then, you know, is it technology in general investments, is it the blockchain and so on, and then I will ask you a few questions.
Well, let's divide the bricks and mortars from the technology, because of course I'm looking at a lot of technology ventures. I'm assisting also as advisor. Strangely enough, they wanted to have an investor with them, not just a regular advisor. So I'm assisting a number of fintech companies, for example, and some of them, of course, are fully on blockchain, but just as an instrument. What I see in the market is there are tremendous opportunities. I'm staying on technology, let's say, because I think it's more interesting for the panel today and for the audience. And I think for those companies that are capable to understand where the wind blows, and as I say, let's net it of COVID-19. Of course, COVID-19 is bringing some additional obligations to all of us that we have to consider, and I will elaborate on those in a minute. But I would say that if the companies are capable of understanding where the wind blows in technology, I think that there's a tremendous potential, because now the COVID-19 finally was the eye-opener for whoever else was left behind. And maybe thinking that technology was something of a nice to have, but you know, we have seen what with telecommuting and the like, that it's actually now embedded in the fabrics of our daily life. Internet of Things has been doing that already for a decade, but again, a lot of people didn't take sufficient notice, I think. So COVID-19 brought us with a vengeance to reconsider everything. And I think this is very good for companies that are in the angel phase, pre-series A rounds. It's very good. What I'm seeing, what the market wants today is what companies should concentrate on in technology. And I think what the market wants, in my opinion, is seamless operations, scalability, flexibility, quick deployment, and universal application potential. I think that with these factors, technology company can go anywhere if it could check those boxes. So it's really interesting to see, I mean, what's going to happen over the next few months. Of course, Sydney said, oh, I started the fund in the worst moment. I don't think so, Sydney. I think actually this is the best moment, because you should really work over a number of different lateral lines and see what opportunities exist, for example, for consolidation. I am a strong believer in consolidation. I was involved in roll-ups when we started in the US in the mid-90s. And consolidation is going to be one of the names of the game today, because the problems that we're seeing with COVID are such that we have to change how the companies are structured. And this applies to multinationals, I would say middle market, small cap, nano cap, micro cap, at every different level. Why is that? Because everything will be more expensive. Companies have to build more redundancies in the system because of the lessons that we learned from COVID-19. which means that there's not only telecommuting, but there is a safety for the employees. There's a lot of other considerations, and it will become more expensive to run a company. Meaning the margins will go down to a degree. Some technology can come very handy because we can counterbalance the perverse effect of the increased cost by the adoption of, I would say, state-of-the-art technology that would allow to liberate additional cash flow for the company to thrive. Also, from a takeover perspective, as acquirers, companies will become more expensive because obviously running operations will be more expensive. So at the end of the day, there will be a premium that we have to add on the good companies that are capable of putting their act together because they went the extra mile and spent additional dollars to make their company or their companies 21st century compliant and seaworthy. So I think this is creating a huge snowball effect in the market, and you are on the receiving end as technology owners and the users, I would say, and operators.
During the COVID today, do you have still people who have the appetite to invest who are coming to you and say, help us, more than before or less than before, or you don't see the difference?
Well, we've been working with companies from 5 continents since the lockdown started, and they're all coming, let's say, to the doctor with just one single ailment, one single disease. They all want to raise capital. And you know why? Because there will be a bottleneck in a few months in the industry, because there will be, capital will be available, and we are placing, as we speak, even in these days, also mega deals have been concluded. Large funds, even in the US, but also elsewhere, have been raising enormous amounts of money. There's a group in the US that raised 2.4 billion across 3 funds last week. So, you know, the markets are not stopping. Whatever mythology somebody brought up to the table that the market should stop is absolutely devoid of any foundation, because otherwise we would have closed down the stock exchanges, and we haven't, because it would only add insult to injury. So the markets will continue to operate. Whoever is an asset allocator and has to allocate important fortunes will continue to invest. You're not going to keep it liquid in this environment because of inflation that we are embedding in the system, as a virtue of what I told you a few minutes ago, that everything is going to cost more and more, because with quantitative easing, we're printing money, we're keeping trillions into the systems, into the major economies, and this will reflect ultimately on the cost of the products that we buy on a day-by-day basis. So I'm telling you this because I say, no, companies are raising, and the bottleneck that we see is you normally raise through investment bankers, through venture capitalists, through advisors. There will be a shortage of professionals in the next few months, because we're all going to be busy to full capacity assisting the companies we're investing in, on the companies we're advising on, and there simply will not be sufficient professionals around to assist companies from all over the world, all at the same time trying to raise capital. So this bottleneck, again, we'll see a lot of winners at the end of the funnel, some survivors, and a lot of dead companies. And that's
particularly some sectors where today they are more active during the COVID crisis, who are looking for fundraising or looking to invest, more sectors than others. I guess the healthcare should be one sector.
No, you know what? I mean, of course, I'm giving you my observatory, but we're working globally with clients in 5 continents raising, and also with investments in at least 3 continents. So no, I could not see that there is a prevalence of a sector over another. I see this across geographies, across verticals, in companies of different maturities, multinationals, old brick and mortar multinationals, more mature middle market companies, manufacturers, distributors, financial services, and of course, technology. I cannot say that there is a sector over the other. Of course, life science, healthcare, and certain branches of technology are getting a lot of attention because of the predicament in which we're living. But definitely, this is really across the board. It's a full spectrum.
Mm-hmm. And what's the, in principle, the deal you have with them is like, we go for fundraising, and you have something which is related to success. The success means investors are there and you help them in fundraising, for instance.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question because you broke up?
The kind of mission that you have with the ones who are looking for fundraising, for example, the success for you and for them means you found out the investors for a certain amount they were looking for, and that is what success means. It's related to that, right? So when they come to you as a doctor and say, help us, at the end is binary, right? Either they found an investor or they didn't find an investor. This is what means success.
Well, I mean, as I say, that's, you know, finding an investor is at the beginning of the journey. It's not the end of the journey, because after you got the money, you got to be proof that you live up to what you said to the investors earlier on. And so, you know, I don't see it exactly. I have a very holistic approach to that.
Right, but you're not only involved at the beginning of the journey when they are starting up. You are also involved in different rounds of fundraising, right?
Yes, of course. I mean, as I say, I mean, we invest in the companies we can invest, but we also see companies in which we do not invest. I mean, because they come to us, maybe they are not our focus of intervention as investors, but nonetheless, they are very good companies, and we like to help them to raise capital, because obviously money knows money. So, you know, it's all word of mouth in our large industry at the end of the day. And if you've been in the industry like me for 29 years, obviously, I got colleague investors all over the world in 5 continents, and you know, we leverage on that for the benefit of the company, obviously.
Perfect, thank you. Let me go to Damian now, if you want to be next.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch what Fred said and Giampaolo. I think we have 2 massive problems today. One is this: very often we, as people who invest I invest small money at the moment, but I'm working on something bigger. But as investors and as a business world, I think we forget that Mark Zuckerberg, when he started working on Facebook, he was a guy in pajama. So he was never, he wasn't even considering that it's going to be something bigger than his campus, not thinking about the city or a state or global. So we need to, like Airbnb guys, they were selling boxes for cereal boxes, right? Or they were delivering Pizza Hut. What I'm trying to say that today, when someone sends a pitch deck to investors, they expect you to be some kind of executive with 10 years experience and being ideally 25 years old, which obviously it's just not going to happen. So first thing we need to remember that those people who have those ideas, very often they're not going to be experienced to take the company where we think they're going to take the company. But the best example is Shark Tank, or in the UK, Dragon's Den, where Peter Jones in the UK, he's always like, okay, I would invest in your company, but you have no idea how to market it and how to take it forward. Obviously, because this is the reason that they go to Dragon's Den, so they can get some initial investments to hire someone who will be able to support the company with marketing or the knowledge. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, I don't know if you noticed, most companies which have problems now, they're companies that they don't make profit. So I think what has to happen on the market, we need to come back a little bit, take a few steps back, because in 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, a business was making money from customers. Now, these days, if the business is struggling with money, we need to go for round F. So they go for round F because they need money to run a business. And if I hear that there is a startup which is 11 years old or 10 years old, I'm shaking. I can't, you know, I can't understand. According to British Business Bank and a lot of banks, if you call any bank, for a business loan, they will tell you, oh, 2 years old, so you're not a startup after 2 years. But somehow VCs, many VCs manage to change the perception in the world that, oh, it's a startup, so it can lose money. Like Uber, this March, Uber has been on the market for 11 years and bringing massive loss. And if they cannot make money after 11 years, it's just not going to happen. It's not a business. And I understand that VCs make money from exits. So basically, most VCs, I can see it like a Ponzi, because VCs make money from future investors, and the last investors make the loss, which unfortunately is the small everyday Joe. So I think in post-COVID, in a way, we should be grateful for this COVID, because profit actually makes sense again. Because where are you going to get money? There's no way. If an investor goes to Uber now or to any business, like, oh, so you never made profit. So how are we going to invest in you? Because you went IPO at $46, now it's $26. So how are we going to make money? So I think it's very important. Tech is a great thing. Tech and everything tech is a great thing because it helps us a lot. It's convenient, it's innovative, it's great. But I think we need to restart thinking again that the basic principle of the business is making profit. So making money in exchange for a service or a product. Now, how are we going to do it? I don't know. It's a tough one because venture capitalists, if you speak to venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, I'm not sure if you know, but most of them never made $1. I spoke to a guy, so I said to him, so how much money did your company make? And he says to me, I sold my company for 30 million. But he couldn't understand my question because I asked him, how much money did your company make? I sold it for 30 million. Because Giampaolo, if I convince you to buy my company now for 100 million at 10%, we've just created a unicorn, right? Which is not true because it's not a unicorn. So yeah, this is there are two major problems I can see when I'm thinking about the business world and how it works, and I speak to a lot of people. And yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know what's your view on that.
I mean, no, you were saying about the companies that after 10 years they are not making profits, so they should not be anymore in business. It depends. The culture, for example, in Europe is different from the US. The US, they can afford to invest and continue to invest in companies that are not profitable for many years. If we would have applied this rule to Amazon or Tesla or a couple or even Uber, they would have been out of business for a while. Now, Amazon, they have also developed the cloud business, Amazon Web Services. It's a company doing well. Of course, Tesla is a huge increase in their market cap recently, despite COVID. So they went down 60%, and then now 70%. They have a market cap which is impressive. And others, you can say the same thing about Facebook, where people were asking questions. Where is the money? Where is the business model? Why, why the valuation of that company will be billions, for example? So they are, I guess, despite being tough and demanding, they can wait. If they see the big picture, they can wait that the market cap could go up or the value of the company could go up. I would say a lot of European investors are behaving different, and they are asking, I see it, I sit on the board of a few startup companies, like one in Munich, for example, in Germany, and the questions they are getting are questions you would ask to big companies like SAP and so on. And they are not patient to wait to see, how they can build the full picture and then grow from there. So I would agree with you, but there are differences in the cultures between the different regions.
But if I can come back to this just for a second, because you see the problem is a bit wider. The thing I said, but the problem is a bit wider. I had a startup founder coming to me some time ago, before COVID, and he said to me, if I could advise him, because he wasn't sure if he should start a startup or a business. I couldn't understand what he was asking for, but he said, so I said to him, okay, I'm just being honest. Tell me the difference, because, just tell me the difference in your view. And he said to me this, because if I set up a startup, I don't need to make profits, because I'm going to be getting money from investors. And, with the business, the problem is that we have to make money to survive. So this is where I'm having problem with.
Yeah, but this is why you need some startups, for example, start having an impressive burn rate from the first months while they are hardly making money, and they believe that the investor is like the magic money, and they can go and afford to have a burn rate which is 10 times what they get. So we have also to educate the guys to go slowly, and then I think Fred was mentioning this, and to grow step by step and be extremely careful with the burn rate. Now, there are exceptional entrepreneurs who have been successful many times, and I have seen the big vision from many times. What I'm saying does not apply on these ones, because they know how to think extremely big and get people and pay them very expensive because they are the right people. But these are exceptional ones.
If I may add, to elaborate on what Damian asked, I think that the truth, as always, is a little bit in the middle. I agree with you that the underlying has to be a functional business, and it should be able to generate sustainable revenue streams, because without that, there's simply nothing. On the other hand, of course, we live in a system, when I define it capitalistic, that awards also the possibility of generating the profits by legitimately speculative maneuvers or actions. And of course, some people tend to benefit from those. Again, if it's just for its own sake, I agree, it will not produce a lot for the communities at large. I'm also an impact investor, so I believe that we should foster sustainability, and beyond just paying lip service to it, I think we should really go do it. And yes, I think, this, Damian, you're absolutely right. The underlying, I'm a merchant banker at the beginning, really. And so these two hats, the merchant and the banker, will always live in me. And if the merchant is not convinced, the banker will not invest, because obviously the merchant has to see the cash register tingle every day. And it must be something which is basics, understandable, as I say, definable, measurable, and replicable. So I agree with you that a lot of these hype that we had in many companies, I don't want to go back onto those companies now, but it may not be justified. On the other hand, it's the beauty of being free. Sometimes the freedom of choice goes through the eye of the needle, that we lose money after companies that weren't really anything special. And it's a lesson learned. It's just like doing an off-campus master. And next time we have to be more careful with our capital. It's part of trial and errors that we all have in life. It's nothing is perfect, but everything can be perfected.
Perfect, thank you. Look, we are a bit short in time, unless someone will have a burning comment. Okay, just I want to listen to Evander Smart. 5 minutes, and then I will give a couple of minutes. We had James in the past, and we had Arnaud as well, but you can still, say a few words as well here. But first, I would like to listen to Evander Smart. Are you there? Bitcoin University? No?
I think
Okay.
we lost Evander.
Yeah, I mean, he looks
Since he is not ready
here.
yet.
Okay, so maybe, so James, like take a couple of minutes. I know we had you in the past in a call, but maybe 2 minutes to add to what you said at the beginning.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? This is Evander. Can you hear me?
Evander's back.
We can hear you.
Sorry, I put it on mute, so I didn't make any noise while you guys were talking. Sorry about that, my mistake. So yeah, basically,
Evander, sorry, kindly, could you check your video? So we
yeah,
don't see
my video's not working, so I apologize for that. I don't know what the problem is, but the video's not going to work. But the audio will work.
Okay.
I saw your picture on LinkedIn. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so I've been working on this concept, basically taking all my knowledge inside of the Bitcoin space and putting it into a university format where I basically do information marketing. And I provide an education to people who want to get started with cryptocurrencies, which is a lot of people. There's a lot of basic ignorance in the mainstream about how digital currencies work, why you should get involved in digital currencies, and how to get started. And in my opinion, within the next decade, all of us, everyone on this call, everyone pretty much within the sound of my voice will be using a digital currency. It'll be on a national scale, or it'll be global and decentralized like you're using Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum. So this is information you're going to have to use and you're going to pick up anyway, regardless. It's just a matter of if it's thrust upon you by your national government and by the centralized banking system, or if you go out and seek that information and you actually profit from it by getting in front of this coming era of digital currencies. We're moving into a digital currency age. And there are countries already like Tunisia and Ecuador who already have digital cash systems. And Sweden hasn't used fiat currency in years. And they say they'll have a national digital currency within the next year or two. And Japan says they'll have J-Coin ready for the 2021 Summer Olympics. They'll launch it so that the tourists can use their national digital currency. And the Fed has already talked to IBM about creating blockchains to put the US dollar on a national digital currency system. So we're all moving in this direction. It doesn't take much of a Google search to figure this out. We're all going digital with our money. It's just a matter of which money you're going to choose. I just happen to have a lot of background information coming from banking. I spent 4 years on Wall Street as a banker, and then I can juxtapose that against my 7 years inside of digital currencies and give a broad understanding of how to move your personal economic sovereignty into this digital currency age and really take advantage of this situation. And with the Bitcoin halving coming up next week, this couldn't be a more perfect time for people to get started understanding what a digital currency is, why to get invested. And I mean, Bitcoin is getting ready to make basically a 10x jump in value in the next 12 months. It's going to be a six-figure investment in 2021. And that's being conservative. Based on previous halvings, it can very easily be $250,000 by the end of next year. And it's just a matter of, are you savvy enough to make a smart investment? I don't want anybody to get invested into Bitcoin if you don't understand what you're investing in. You can talk to Warren Buffett. You can talk to anyone who has any level of investment acumen. They'll tell you don't invest in what you don't understand. So that's why I created Bitcoin University as basically an information product. The product is basically me. What I've done over the last 5 years is I've learned how to do SEO so I can get Bitcoin University to the top of Google. When you type in Bitcoin University, my website comes up first. I've learned how to build the websites, how to build webinars, how to do the landing pages, how to do the autoresponders, and how to create the information, the onboarding so that someone can walk in and feel comfortable and say, all right, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's a DCC certified expert in Bitcoin. He's a blockchain expert in blockchain. He understands what he's doing, and he can teach me. I can walk through it. He's not going to talk over my head. He's not going to use a bunch of tech jargon that I don't understand. I can walk anybody through Bitcoin. I can teach anybody Bitcoin in 2 hours. My website, bitcoincheatcodes.com. I can teach anybody one video how to use Bitcoin, how to get your wallet set up, and how to start investing, and how to basically jumpstart an accelerated training program. So that's what I do.
How long is the training?
Well, it depends how fast you want to go. I have a Bitcoin weekly where I can send you a couple of videos every week, and I can drip feed you if you're kind of slow. Maybe you're not comfortable with it. You want to go very slowly. I can send you a book, one week. I can send you a couple of videos. The next week, I could do a 2-hour full accelerated training in one video, and you'll be ready to go. You can start investing in a couple hours, or we can do a full Bitcoin University Pro where I can teach you everything that I know, and you'll have no gaps in your game. So there's basically 3 products, and then there's 3 speeds. How fast do you want to get there?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's interesting to have like a must-have service for anyone who is starting a company or running a company in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, that you say, you look, you are going to make maybe the readiness to see at what stage they are, what do they know, what they ignore, and then give them the additional training they need and so on. And that if you can make it systematic and must-have for everyone, that's great.
Right, and you can, it provides opportunities for upsells and downsells, and for people of all ages, millennials in college who want to get started with Bitcoin because they want the next form of payment. And millennials are all into Bitcoin, but again, they don't know any more than anybody else. They may not have the $1,000 to get into Bitcoin University, which is the full Monty education that they may need, but they can pay $19 a week to get a couple of videos every week to drip feed to get the ball rolling.
Great, thank you, Dmitry. We are close to the 90 minutes. Can we still stay 5 or 10 minutes?
Yeah, sure, we could stay.
Okay,
no problem.
So just Kevin had to leave, but he sent by chat a very good description of what they are doing, plus an attachment to a very interesting presentation where we understand exactly from where he comes. So
right. Just one little addition. My issue is, the reason why I'm here is basically I've learned how to do SEO and website building and webinars and videos and all of that. What I don't have is basically the business structure and the marketing, the understanding of how to market a business. I'm not an expert in marketing. I'm not an expert in building businesses. I am an expert in building the product and making it useful and getting something that people can actually use. I have a what do you call it? An MVP. I have a minimum viable product. I have several minimum viable products that are usable, but I need help with the coalescing into a business structure and into a marketing platform where I have a marketing ad budget and I can actually, do SMS, or I can do TV commercials or infomercials or what have you to get it into the hands of the people. That's where my weaknesses come in. Sure. But I can only do so much. So
this is where the club can help, and maybe the infrastructure that Dmitry here has set up can help. Quickly, a couple of minutes from James and from Arnaud, actually, from what you heard, and also again presenting what you are doing. Just a couple of minutes would be great.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm James Sowers, and I joined to listen and learn, and to network and participate, and to hear different points of view to expand critical thinking. It's always good to hear both sides of the story, because these days with social media, a lot of people, especially in your Facebook feed, it becomes like an echo chamber where they only show you relevant topics that you already believe in. So I always believe in seeing 2 or 3 points of view, especially if they don't necessarily jive with your own. And I'm also looking for network effects in businesses, and I believe that in the future, every business is going to be a technology business with code in its nervous system. So all businesses, and I think COVID has kind of pointed to that, are going to need some type of technology if they don't have it today in order to survive and thrive. I mean, even things like the like psychedelics, but not recreational, but pharma psychedelics is going to need big data and AI and blockchain for supply chain tracking and to measure the data, because in this world today, having usable data is going to be a big thing, because there's a lot of data out there, but it has to be usable data. So not all data is useful, just like all oil isn't useful that's in the ground. And with network effects, my belief is that companies like the Amazon, the Ubers, and the Facebook are outliers. There's going to be very few of those. But what a true network effect is each person, especially in the beginning, added to the network, adds value to the network. So it's just not adding a lot of people. It's each person you add brings value to the network to every user that's on there until you get to a certain point of scale. And that's why companies like Amazon and Uber and Facebook have been able to get to the level they have today. Now, I think the cycle has a lot to do with it too. So if you're in a cycle where you can raise a lot of money and get to that scale, that's great. But a lot of times in the downturn, at the very bottom, when people don't know it's a bottom, is when these companies are created because there's less competition. Because today we have a ton of competition. Anybody can start a startup for almost nothing. but it's very expensive to scale, and it's very hard for each startup to add value to the ecosystem of business even.
Thank you.
I agree, James.
Thank you.
Do we still have, yes.
Sorry, that's why we're going to see a lot of consolidation.
Right.
So Arnold, can you also make your couple of minutes?
So how to earn income using a blockchain language. Basically, we have machine generated code. Well, obvious, a first model could be pay by line of code translated. That would be a nice business model. But you can also look further. And because I show you a few different business models, you also see how complex investment in this sphere is. For example, we can participate helping digitalize faster. We just heard from the previous speaker, then you win the market and everyone has to digitalize. Build better system and superior systems in all kind of vertical industries, because blockchain is mainly about compliance and certification, and you can apply that to all industries, so things become more transparent and more traceable, and therefore more efficient and effective. So be faster. There are also all kind of side models. You can use such kind of language for teaching those who are not programmers, and that's basically all alpha and gamma oriented people. So how to have an investor that can pick up all these opportunities? That's basically the question, and therefore you need an investor who really dives into your company, want to participate, maybe bring in a certain vertical market knowledge from an industry. So then we can digitalize that industry faster. We don't have that expertise, although I did work in the energy sector, for example, and we did work a little bit on that, but we are not a kind of have that background that an investor out of that industry can bring. So digitalization is not only about grabbing the market and doing things faster, it's also about surviving, because I gave this example that maybe in a few years from now Google can translate human language into computer code. But then you lose your intellectual property because you have to accept these terms of Google. And you will see that if you do not digitalize fast in this new digital world, you probably will lose. And so there is a kind of need to dive into it. It's not a free thing for a lot of industries. So, and it's also great when people out of the industry realize that. Well, I think
Thank you. So I heard a lot of interesting things that are not, always overlapping. So we've got the university, to help the startups to get more readiness in the Bitcoin. We had also here a generation of a language that can help also developers. We've got James and his experience. We've got also Fred, who is offering the angel to exit. Kevin, unfortunately, we couldn't hear him, but I saw his presentations also very well structured and interesting, with how to make the business and startups and investors all coming together. And also from Giampaolo Parigi, is like a global across the whole globe. Huge experience as well in investment, working with the ones who are looking for investments, with the family businesses as well. And I think for the ones who will be listening to the recorded video here out of this session, plus all the information you provide in that chat, this is great learning. I think for me is also the opportunity to go beyond that, when we will have the panel conversations on the summit, when the summit will be live on the week of the 21st, I think we can get into deeper questions now that I know you here, and I know from where you come, and I know your point of views. I'm confident we will have an interesting panel discussion. I would leave a few minutes to Dmitry before we close to say more words, if you wish, about the DAO.digital platform and how that could be like a continuous engagement on that marketplace among all the people who participate in that club, the investors and the startups, as well as the corporates.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. So first, what I would like to say is about the platform, DAO.digital. So what is it? So actually, there are two parts here. So first part is DAO. So this is the decentralized autonomous organization. So this is the format how new types of organization are now working. So it provides huge opportunities for everyone to join the organization, work for it, and make the value. So actually, this is the platform how we could provide the value for each other. So the other part is the digital. So that's about the technology. So if DAO is about people, so digital is about the technologies that we have to use. So the recent times shows us that we have to change, we have to implement all the technologies we have to be fast, we have to use scalable databases and other things. And actually, this is the stuff, the tools that we have to connect and use. So, and DAO.digital is the platform that helps first connecting people. So we have experts, we have investors, we have founders of startups, we have entrepreneurs who is doing good jobs and producing interesting services. And our goal is to connect each other, so know better each other and help promote services that we have, that we are good at it. So under this we'll create our own media. So I have the experience of launching several medias, so like Neweconomy.media and others media platforms, and DAO.digital would be our media channel for showcasing different experts and sharing the knowledge that we have. So the other part is about the technology. All of us producing different startups, doing stuff with different technologies. And DAO.digital would help us to integrate all the technologies with each other. So the value is if we use this technology together, if we integrate each other, we use APIs to connect data and build our own ecosystem. So first we connect people, then we connect technology that we have, and our platform could help us to leverage that data, technologies that we have, and etc. And everything should be managed by the decentralized autonomous organization, by the new protocols that blockchain provides us. So actually, I wish that it would be the future for us for doing our job, for first by making the value for each of us and customers, the community, and etc. So this platform would consist of the media for showcasing each other, for connecting with each other, for sharing knowledge, with the marketplace where we could sell our services, our things that we're doing. So that's the convenient place where we could just list things that we're doing and provide easy way to connect each other. So for startups, it would be special service for kind of a pitch place where everyone startup could upload the pitch presentation of what they're doing, put some data about them, and we could have a look what they're doing, what they're offering. We could get the feedback from experts and better understand which startups are better for investing. And of course, it would consists of the private community. So this is the private space where we could collaborate, where could private share with the resources that we have, where we could connect with each other without fearing that these data will be lost somewhere. So actually that's what we're doing right now. This Global Investors Online Summit is probably the first step that we're doing right now. It would help us learn better what our needs are, what we're doing, how we could elaborate with each other, how we could present stuff that we're doing together. And the next step, we're launching our digital club, where we could collaborate on the system regular basis with each other and generate value. So probably every day. So thank you very much for joining us. So hope we'll make a good job together.
Thank you, Dmitry. So,
thank you, Dmitry. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I hope it makes sense here, what's presented. I think it's an ambitious project that Dmitry is talking about, which is not only about a one-time event and just, a talk show, but also forming that club that people can engage for the longer term and then find out what they need very quickly as a one-stop shop for investment. I think this is a good and ambitious project. It happens as well that the world is virtual, and a lot of the clubs or events or communications taking place virtual. I don't think after COVID, we will come back to pure 100% physical work. The virtual will have its space, and this platform makes a lot of sense. I wish you a great weekend and looking forward to see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.